The rain-slicked streets of Manhattan gleamed under the sodium glow of street lamps as Elaine Kowalski hurried home from the corner bodega, her arms laden with a paper bag of groceries that weren't entirely for her. At 55, Elaine moved with the efficient grace of someone who'd long ago mastered the art of multitasking. In a city that never paused for breath, her salt and pepper bob was tucked under a wool beanie damp from the drizzle, and her sensible loafers splashed through shallow puddles on West 57th Street. The bag crinkled softly against her wool coat inside, a loaf of sourdough, some artisanal cheese she'd splurged on for herself, and a six-pack of Kraft IPAs that her younger sister, Carla, had texted about an hour earlier. Sis, dying for those hazy ones from the spot near you. Emergency restock. Elaine had chuckled at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen before typing back a quick, on it, emergency restock. That was Carla's code for everything from a hangover cure to a spontaneous girls' night that inevitably ended with Elaine footing the bill. But that was family, wasn't it? The kind of unspoken pact that bound you tighter than any contract, especially when your mother had bailed on both of you before Carla could even tie her own shoes. Elaine, 7 years older, had stepped in without question. Diapers, dance recitals, that first ill-fated attempt at a summer camp that Carla hated but Elaine insisted would build character, and now, in their 40s and 50s, the pattern held. Elaine, the steady editor at a midtown publishing house, scraping by on a salary that barely covered her one-bedroom walk-up. Carla, the eternal dreamer, flitting from one boutique venture to the next, each more ambitious and doomed than the last. She pushed open the door to her brownstone with her hip, the familiar creak of the hinges greeting her like an old friend. The hallway smelled of yesterday's garlic from Mrs. Rossi's Italian cooking upstairs, a comforting undercurrent to the faint mustiness of her own apartment. On the third floor, Elaine climbed the narrow stairs, her mind already drifting to the stack of manuscripts waiting on her coffee table slush pile rejects she reviewed in her spare time, hoping to spot the next big thing. But tonight, like so many nights, the manuscripts would wait. Carla had called earlier, voice bubbly over the speakerphone as Elaine chopped onions for a solo stir-fry. Sis, the pop-up's killing it, sold out of those linen caftans by noon. But rent's due Friday. Landlord's being a total dick. $1,200. You know, just to tide us over. Us, that always meant Carla and whatever boyfriend du jour was crashing on her couch this month. Last time it was Jake, the tattooed musician who'd borrowed Elaine's spare key and never returned it. Before that, Theo, the aspiring actor who complimented Elaine's vintage vibe while eyeing her wallet. Elaine had wired the money without a second thought, her bank's app beeping confirmation as she plated her dinner alone. Wired, she texted back, adding a heart emoji because that's what sisters did. Forgave the little tigs, the casual assumptions, the way Carla's life always seemed to orbit Elaine's stability like a planet too lazy to spin on its own axis. Upstairs, Elaine kicked off her shoes in the entryway, the cool hardwood soothing her aching feet. Her apartment was a sanctuary of controlled chaos. Bookshelves sagging under the weight of dog-eared paperbacks. Agatha Christie, Gillian Flynn, the latest from Ruth Ware flanking a thrift store sofa that had seen better decades. A single framed photo on the mantel caught the light from the street lamp filtering through lace curtains. Her and Carla at Coney Island. 15 years ago, Elaine in a sundress, arms slung protectively round a gap-toothed Carla, mid-laugh, cotton candy staining her fingers pink. Best day ever. The inscription read in Elaine's neat cursive. She paused there, bag still in hand, her gaze lingering on Carla's grin. When had that joy curdled into something sharper, more entitled, or had it always been there, masked by the glitter of sisterly love? The phone buzzed in her coat pocket, jolting her back. She fished it out, expecting Carla's thank you selfie with the IPAs. Instead, an Instagram notification at Carla Drumweaver posted a new photo. Elaine's thumb swiped open the app out of habit, the feed loading with its usual assault of filtered perfection yoga poses at dawn, avocado toast towers, sponsored hauls from co-brands that Carla swore by. But this was different. The top post was a carousel. Timestamp 2 hours ago. Carla, radiant in a flowing white boho gown that skimmed the dunes of a Hamptons beach. The Atlantic crashing like applause in the background. Her arm linked with a man Elaine vaguely recognized from blurry FaceTime calls. Ari, the tech entrepreneur with the perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and a laugh like gravel. They stood under a driftwood arch, draped in wildflowers, toes buried in sand, exchanging rings that caught the golden hour light like promises etched in gold. Elaine's breath caught a sharp inhale that tasted like the rain outside. She swiped to the next photo, vows exchanged. Carla's eyes shining, as Ari whispered something that made her throw her head back in laughter. Swipe cake cutting, a naked tear slathered in buttercream, forks clinking against plates, held by a circle of guests. Carla's yoga instructor with her crystal necklace, a gaggle of influencers in linen saris, Ari's venture capitalist brother toasting with vintage champagne. No familiar faces from their side of the family. No, Elaine, in the navy sheath dress she'd bought on sale at Macy's 3 weeks ago, mentally rehearsing her maid of honor toast about resilience and second chances. Swipe to the caption, just us, the sand, and our forever. Intimate vibes only, no family drama. Hampton's wedding, soulmates, boho bliss. The words blurred as Elaine's eyes stung. Intimate vibes, no family drama. She scrolled the comments, heart emojis from strangers, obsessed. Where's the dress from? From micro-influencers. A string of fire emojis from Ari's frat bro network. Buried midway was a screenshot of a group chat. Timestamped yesterday. Carla to the squad, kept it low-key. Sis to chaotic with your drama. Elaine would have turned it into a therapy session, lol. The bag slipped from Elaine's fingers, the epis tumbling to the floor with a series of dull thuds. Glass necks foaming amber where they cracked against the wood. She didn't move to clean it up. Instead, she sank onto the sofa, phone clutched like a lifeline, thumb frozen on the screen. Drama, that's what she was now. The sister who'd bandaged Carla's knees after playground falls, who'd co-signed the lease on her first boutique in Soho, a glorified closet of imported silks that folded in 6 months, leaving Elaine to cover the security deposit. The one who'd Venmo'd $800 last month for inspiration fabrics from a trip to Bali that Carla described in lavish detail over Ross at Elaine's kitchen table. Sis, the markets, colors you'd die for, but customs ate my budget 3 more. Elaine's mind reeled, fragments of the past 2 years assembling like a cruel collage. The $2,500 bailout for the Williamsburg pop-up after a pipe burst. Carla's tears on the phone. I can't lose this dream, Elaine. You're my rock. The $1,800 for Ari's prototype app. That went nowhere. Funneled through Carla, because he hates asking family the endless emergencies. A sprained ankle from hot yoga, 400 or copay. A stolen wallet in the East Village, 600 in lost cash and cards. The time Carla's landlord hiked rent mid-lease, 1200. Bridge loan that became a gift when repayments turned into brunch IOUs. It added up. Elaine knew over $25,000 if she tallied the transfers. A slow bleed from her 401k that left her ramen nights feeling less like choice and more like necessity. But she'd never tallied, never complained, because that's what big sisters did. They held the umbrella so the little one could dance in the storm. Now, staring at the wreckage of beer on her floor, the phone seeping into the rug like accusation, Elaine felt the first crack in that armor. Her chest tightened, a sob building that she swallowed down with practiced efficiency. She grabbed her laptop from the coffee table. The screen's blue glow harsh in the dim room. Banking app open. Transaction history unspooling like a confessional. $500 here for boutique utilities. $300 there for Ari's flight delay. Dates blurred. October last year, February this spring, just last week. Balance $8,247.14, enough for her own rent. Barely, if she skipped the freelance edits. She'd been hoarding for a rainy day sabbatical. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Cancel recurring transfers. The prompt blinked innocently. One click, and the lifeline severed. She thought of Carla's voice from childhood. High and needy, Elaine, play with me. How it had evolved into Elaine, spot me. Without her noticing, thought of the dress still hanging in her closet. Tags dangling like unanswered invitations. Thought of the group chat screenshot. That winky emoji like a knife twist. Drama chaotic. Click. Confirmation. All recurring transfers to Carla Kowalski canceled. Effective immediately. Elaine closed the laptop. The snap echoing louder than the rain pattering against the window. She stood, glass crunching underfoot as she padded to the kitchen for a broom. The mess was symbolic. She decided sticky, temporary, cleanable. But as she swept, her phone lit up again, a voicemail notification. Carla's name. She hit play. Broom, pausing mid-sweep. Sis, hey, it's me. So, the wedding pics blew up crazy, right? Ari's brother posted on LinkedIn. Got like 500 likes. Anyway, pop up tomorrow in Bushwick. But the van rental snag $400. Wire by morning. You're the best, moi. Elaine deleted the message, her thumb steady for the first time in years. No reply, no heart emoji. Just silence, thick and unfamiliar. The next morning dawned gray and unrelenting. The kind of New York autumn that seeped into your bones. Elaine called out sick from work, first time in 2 years, her voice croaking excuses about a migraine to her boss, who sounded more relieved than concerned. Take the day, Elaine. You've been a machine. She brewed coffee strong enough to strip paint, the aroma filling her apartment like a balm, and settled into her armchair with a dog-eared copy of The Silent Patient. But the words swam her mind, replaying the carousel of beach photos, the laughter that excluded her. By noon, restlessness drove her out, not to the bank, not to Carla's boutique, to the Brooklyn Public Library, a 15-minute subway rattle away, where she'd once dragged a protesting Carla for culture hours that ended in confiscated candy bars. The main branch loomed like a stone guardian, its steps worn smooth by generations of seekers. Elaine flashed her card at the circulation desk. The librarian, a weary woman in cat-eye glasses, smiling recognition. Miss Kowalski, back for more mysteries? Always, Elaine replied, her voice lighter than she felt. And anything on writing workshops? Fiction, maybe. The librarian's eyes lit up. Third Thursday of every month. Beginner-friendly. Led by this fantastic ex-editor from Knopf. Starts in an hour. You in? Elaine hesitated, then nodded. Why not? The workshop met in a sun-dappled room on the second floor. Folding chairs arranged in a loose circle around a scarred oak table. 8 participants, a nervous college kid with a man bun, a retired cop scribbling in a spiral notebook, 2 wide-eyed millennials clutching laptops, and Elaine, feeling both imposter and pioneer. The leader, Jessica 40s, sharp bob, tattoo of a quill on her wrist, kicked off with prompts. Write what haunts you. The betrayal that lingers like smoke. Elaine's pen flew. Words spilled onto the page. A woman in a city of shadows. Her sister, a ghost in white silk, unraveling threads of gold that bound rather than warmed. The Silent Severance, she titled it, the phrase emerging like a breath held too long. When Jessica called for shares, Elaine's hand shot up, surprising even herself. She read in a voice steady as the subway rumbled. The exclusion, the transfers, the winky-faced dismissal. The room fell quiet, then erupted claps, nods, the college kid muttering, damn, that's raw. Jessica pulled her aside after. You've got voice, Elaine. Real pain turned poetry. Submit it somewhere. Or hell, start a novel. What's stopping you? Elaine thought of the manuscripts piling up at home. Her own stories buried under edits for others. Nothing, she said, anymore. That evening, back in her apartment, the broom marks still fresh on the rug, Elaine dusted off her own notebook, a relic from a creative writing elective in college. Abandoned when Carlo's high school drama club needed a seamstress for costumes. She wrote until midnight. The city hummed a distant lullaby. The character on the page, Eleanor, a editor haunted by familial ghosts, began to breathe. Her severance, not just financial, but existential. A first chapter took shape, 2,000 words of taut prose, laced with the acrid tang of betrayal. Carla's text started at 9:47 a.m. the next day. Elaine was midway through her second cup of coffee, sunlight slanting across the page, when the buzz interrupted. Sis, wire didn't hit. Landlord's on my ass for oh remember, call me. 10 minutes later, Elaine, are you okay? This isn't funny. By lunch, a voice note. Carla's tone shifting from playful to piqued. Okay, what's with the radio silence? Pop-up store without the van. Need you. Elaine listened, thumb tracing the edge of her mug. Need you. The words echoed hollow, stripped of the affection they'd once carried. She archived the thread, opened her laptop instead. Chapter 2, Eleanor's first workshop. The circle of strangers becoming anchors. Fiction mirroring life. Life feeding fiction. The calls escalated by evening 3 in a row. Voicemail piling up like unpaid bills. Elaine let them ring. The vibration, a mosquito whine, she swatted away. She met Marge for drinks instead, her book club confidant from the publishing house. A no-nonsense widow in her 60s, with a laugh like a foghorn, and a penchant for single malt scotch. They claimed a corner booth at a dive on Amsterdam Avenue, the kind with sticky tables and jukebox tunes from the 80s. Marge clinked her glass against Elaine's gin and tonic. So, spill. You look unburdened. Good, unburdened, or bad? Elaine exhaled, the story tumbling out, the wedding pics, the drama label, the cancelled transfers. Marge, listen, face hardening like setting concrete. That little leech, 25 grand. Jesus, Elaine, that's not sisterhood. That's indentured servitude. You did right cutting her off, but heads up, she'll come clawing. Elaine sipped the juniper bite, grounding her. What if she does? What if it's final? Marge leaned in, eyes twinkling with the wisdom of someone who'd buried a husband and a wayward son. Final's a gift, hon. Means room for the real stuff, like that workshop you mentioned. Or finally querying that novel you've been planning since the Bush administration. They talked until last call. Marge's tales of her own severances. A cousin who ghosted after a loan default, a neighbor turned nemesis over parking wars. Elaine's tentative outlines for her book, Blood Money Blues, she called it on a whim, the title evoking the bluesy wail of a sax in a smoke-filled club, all heartache and hard-won clarity. By the time Elaine stumbled home, buzzed and bold, she'd texted Jessica, got a chapter. Feedback, Jessica's reply pinged at AM, send it. Can't wait. The workshop became ritual every third Thursday. Elaine, arriving early with printed pages, her voice gaining strength as she read. The group swelled to 12, bonds forming over post-session coffees at the library cafe. The cop sharing cop outlines for her thriller. The millennials brainstorming TikTok promo strategies. Elaine's chapters evolved. Eleanor's sister, a vortex of velvet and venom, scheming boardroom coups while bleeding the family coffers dry. Subtext mirrored subtext. The wedding as a clandestine board meeting. Guests said shareholders in Carla's ego. Carla's assaults grew frantic. A week after the cutoff, she showed up unannounced at Elaine's door, pounding like a bailiff. Elaine peered through the peephole. Carla, disheveled in yesterday's jeans, mascara smudged. Ari, trailing like a reluctant shadow. Elaine, open up, we need to talk. Elaine's heart hammered, but she held firm, chain latched. Not now. Carla, go home. Through the crack home, the pop-up tanked. Rent's overdue for, total. Ari's app crashed. Investors bailed. You're killing us. Us again. Elaine's voice, muffled but steel. You killed something first. The wedding, me. Carla's sob was theatrical, honed from years of audition reels. That was a mistake. Stress. Vibes, come on, sis. Family forgives. Wire it, and we'll plan a redo. You, me, the works. Silence stretched. Elaine pictured the Hamptons sand, the winky emoji. No redo, no wire. Goodbye, Carla. The pounding resumed, then faded to please. Ari's murmured, babe, let's go. She's serious. Footsteps receded down the stairs. Elaine slid to the floor, back against the door, breath ragged. But the tears? They didn't come. Instead, a quiet resolve. Chapter 5. Eleanor's confrontation in the rain-swept lobby. Words like scalpels, carving truth from tissue. Word of the feud spread through their fractured network. Carla's yoga circle whispering about toxic family dynamics. Elaine's publishing colleagues raising eyebrows over water cooler coffee. Marge became her war counsel. Afternoons spent plotting at the diner. Document everything. Elaine. Texts, voicemails. It's evidence if she escalates. Escalate. She did. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. Crisp envelope stamped from a Brooklyn law office. Elaine slid it open over herbal tea. The legalese blurring at first. Petition for conservatorship. Carla Kowalski v. Elaine Kowalski. Allegations of elder financial neglect, sudden behavioral instability, isolation, indicative of cognitive decline. Accompanying affidavits from a nosy super who'd seen Carla's tears. Miss Kowalski seemed distraught. Ma'am, unusual for her, and a concerned neighbor, the guy downstairs who'd complained about her late night typing as noise pollution. Worst, a psych eval request. Carla's signature flourished like a flourish of spite. Elaine's hands shook as she dialed Marge. She's suing me for guardianship. At 55, Marge's voice crackled with fury. That bitch. Call Lerner. She's the shark who gutted my ex's alimony claim. Miss Lerner, 42, ponytail like a whip. Office overlooking the East River. Met Elaine the next day, in a conference room smelling of fresh coffee and victory. This is textbook elder abuse flipped on its head, Lerner said, scanning the petition. Carla's painting you as the villain to seize your assets. But we've got gold, those Venmo trails. Emails begging for loans she never repaid. It's a pattern of exploitation, not neglect. Elaine traced the table's grain. I don't want her money. Or mine. Really just out. Lerner nodded, fierce. Then we fight. File counter for harassment. Restraining order. And Elaine, get that psych eval pronto. Proves you're sharper than her schemes. The evaluation came a week later. Dr. Patel's office, a zen pot of ferns and soft lighting. Questions flowed, memory recall. Elaine recited the plot twists of Gone Girl verbatim. Financial acumen, she balanced a mock budget on the spot, slashing sisterly indulgences. Emotional stability, betrayal stings. Doctor, but it clarifies. Verdict, exceptional cognitive function. No indicators of decline. Recommend therapy for grief processing, but autonomy absolute. Armed, Elaine's counterfiling landed like a gauntlet. Emotional and financial abuse documented. $25,000 plus in gifts coerced under familial duress. The wedding exclusion as exhibit, a screenshots printed, timestamps glaring. Carla's response, a barrage texts from burner numbers. You'll regret this, sis. Voicemails laced with sobs. How can you do this to family? Even a midnight knock that had Elaine dialing 911 before the shadow retreated. The book club became bunker. Marge hosted emergency sessions in her Park Slope brownstone. Wine flowing as stories swapped. The cops' stakeout tales fueling Elaine's procedural beats. The millennial social media savvy scripting Eleanor's viral takedown. Blood Money Blues ballooned 10 chapters, 40,000 words. Eleanor's arc mirroring Elaine's, from enabler to evictor. Her severance, a scalpel excising the rot. Trial day dawned crisp. October leaves carpeting the Brooklyn courthouse steps like confetti for a funeral. Elaine arrived in her navy sheath, the wedding dress. Repurposed Lerner at her side like a sentinel. Carla waited inside, power suit ill-fitting over her frame, thinned by stress. Ari, fidgeting with his phone. Their lawyer, Vance, a paunchy glad-hander with a comb-over, smiled like a used car salesman. We'll settle out of court. Miss Kowalski, family harmony. Lerner harmony. After the forgery attempts on affidavits. See you inside. The courtroom hummed with fluorescent sterility. Wood benches worn smooth. Judge Harris, silver-haired and eagle-eyed, called order. Vance opened, Your Honor. My client seeks conservatorship to protect her sister from self-harm. Sudden cutoffs. Isolation in library recluse mode affidavits attest to paranoia. Elaine's pulse thrummed, but Lerner's hand on her arm steadied. Witnesses paraded the super, crumbling under Crosswell. Miss Kowalski did seem upset, but the neighbor, admitting his concerns stemmed from a parking spat, not sightings of delirium. Carla took the stand, a masterclass in selective memory. Elaine's my everything, but lately, ghosting, rages. The wedding was intimate, didn't want her stress ruining it. Now she's hoarding her 401k, endangering herself. Tears glistened, cueing sniffles from Ari in the gallery. Lerner rose, shark-like. Miss Kowalski, define intimate. Your Instagram, 200 guests, influencers, not family. Carla flushed. Vibes, not numbers. And the $25,000? Gifts or emergencies you fabricated? Support, sister support, support, like excluding her from your vows? Or wiring demands at AM? The gallery murmured. Carla stammered, foundation cracking. Elaine's turn. She walked to the stand, voice clear as a bell, tolling truth. I raised Carla when Mom left, paid her dreams because I believed in us. But the wedding? That group chat calling me chaotic? It severed something irreparable. Not my mind, my illusions. She detailed the transfers, the pleas, the evolution from sister to ATM. I regret only delaying the stop. Now, I write, I live, without her anchor dragging me under. Vance's cross flailed. Implications of manipulation by book club cronies? Questions laced with ageism. Elaine parried cronies' allies. Unlike blood that bleeds you dry. Rebuttal. Lerner unveiled the psych evil, financial ledgers, even a timeline graphic. Carla's emergencies spiking post each flop. This isn't protection, Your Honor, it's predation. Judge Harris recessed. The weight and eternity of whispers and sidelong glares. Carla avoided Elaine's eyes, Ari checking scores on his phone. When Harris returned, gavel poised, petition denied. Miss Elaine Kowalski exhibits full capacity. Counterclaims of harassment granted. Restraining order issued. No contact sans mediation. Court adjourns. The bang echoed like freedom's chime. Elaine exhaled. Lerner's hug fierce. Carla bolted, Ari trailing, but not before a hissed, "This isn't over," from the doorway. Elaine met it with silence, her severance sealed in legalese. Rebirth unfurled like spring in winter's wake. Blood money, blues, queried. Agents biting within months. A 3-book deal from a boutique press. The advance enough to trade her walk-up for a sunlit area in Cobble Hill. Launch night at a Brooklyn indie bookstore. Velvet ropes, cheese boards, a queue snaking to the block. Elaine signed copies to severances that save Marge beaming from the front row. Jessica toasting with champagne flutes. Carla, whispers filtered through mutuals. Sublet in Bad Stewie. Barista gigs between consulting hustles. Ari zap a footnote in a startup obituary. A final text from a blocked number. Sis, sorry, can we talk? Miss you. Elaine deleted it, turning to her balcony view. Manhattan skyline twinkling like forgiven stars. She raised her glass to the night. Chapter 27. Open on her laptop. Eleanor's epilogue. Not vengeance, but victory. A woman unbound. The blues had faded. In their place, a symphony of self. 1 year on. Central Park picnic with the club now a dozen strong. Blankets strewn with manuscripts and merlet. A fan approached, dog-eared paperback in hand. Loved the sister twist. Chills like, how do you survive that? Elaine smiled, signing the flyleaf. You write it out, and you choose your family anew. As laughter rippled, the city pulsed on, indifferent and alive. Elaine Kowalski, 56 and soaring, knew the silent severance wasn't an end. It was the quiet roar of beginning.